Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Andrew with SureFire. It's day 3 of Shoot Show. We're going live. Just want to give a quick rundown for those that weren't able to join on day 1 and day 2 of what the plan is. We're doing giveaways. There's a link in the video description. Click on that link, fill out the information, and you'll be entered to win some prizes. We're giving away a lot of stuff. We're giving away 3 X300s, 3 Stiletto Pros, 3 War Comps, and 3 Scout Light Pros. So be sure to enter there, and you got a chance to win. I'm going to read out the names of the winners live on the feed. I'm actually going to do 6 in a little bit, and then we'll do 6 more at the end. After that, we're going to be talking with Matt Pranka from X-Ray Alpha, picking his brain on, some shooting stuff, some training stuff, and we'll be getting some really good information from him. On top of that, we have promo codes that are one-time use. These are for our website. So you'll see a code pop up in the bottom of your screen. These are first come, first serve. So go to our website. If there's something that you're looking for, check out. The first person to check out with it gets to use it. So it's possible that you would add something to your cart with that code, and then someone else might check out just before you. So it's a little bit of a race, and there's a handful of them that are going to pop up through the duration of this live feed. Again, they're one-time use. They're 40% off pro deal codes, and you can use them on pretty much anything on our website. Not batteries. We have a small margin on our batteries, so it doesn't apply to those, but anything else on our website, you can use that towards. So I'm going to do the first set of giveaways here. Okay, so up first, we're giving away the X300 Ultra. That's a 1,000 lumen handgun weapon light, gold standard weapon light in the industry. First winner is Byron Tom. Congratulations, Byron. You just won an X300. We're going to be emailing you guys. And I should also add to it real quick, there's some shipping regulations depending on certain countries. Like we're giving away some War Comps. There's certain places we can't ship those. If that's the case, we got a consolation prize lined up, and we'll get you guys taken care of. Up next is Clark Bittler. You got an X300 Ultra. Congratulations, Clark. Daniel Thompson, X300 Ultra for you. Next up, Robert Urban, you just won a Stiletto Pro. Stephen Kwan, Stiletto Pro. And Jeff Harlan, congratulations, you won a Stiletto Pro. We're going to draw some more names at the end of this. So I'm going to talk with Matt for a little bit. We're going to jump into a video after that. And then at the end of this, we're going to be sitting down with Barry Duke and Cody Carroll and picking their brains on some suppressor stuff. And it'll be a good time. So if you got any questions, by the way, I'm going to try and do a better job of monitoring these comments, whether it's for Matt or any of our other guests. Jump in the comments and ask them, and we'll see if we can get them answered. So I think we got Matt on the line. Matt, you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Oh, it's going good.
Awesome. Hey, some of our viewers might not be familiar, so just in case, can you give people a little background about yourself?
Yep, so my name's Matt Pranka. I own a company called X-Ray Alpha. Kind of my background, I was in the military for 26 years. I was in the Navy, ended up retiring out of the Army, and I'm a USPSA Grandmaster and started X-Ray Alpha back at the end of 2019 and have been, helping guys train and get better since then.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Thanks for that. We had been talking, and I've talked with some of the other guests on this feed, and I don't want to be too redundant, but I think it's a really important talking point. Like we were talking before we went live, the ammo crisis, I don't see any light at the end of the tunnel, you know what I mean? It's a little bit scary for practice and training and whatnot. I know you're a big dry fire guy. Can you talk a little bit about what your dry fire consists of and your regiment for that?
Of course, right when you start talking, I lost you on the audio.
Oh, no worries. Can you hear me? Matt, you got me. Just so you know, folks, by the way, Matt, I think he's on a trip right now, so his internet is not super solid. We're going to do our best to work through it, but let me see if we can get Matt back up. Well, while we're waiting for Matt to get back up, I brought something that I wanted to share with people, give Ben Stoker Pro Shop a little plug. For those that aren't familiar with reduced targets, these are a huge training aid. I use them all the time. I just ordered some more. You can do a whole lot of practice with these guys at home in a reduced size target. Gives you the ability to mimic certain distances that you might not have inside your house. So really, really clutch item. They have both like 1/6 and 1/3 size targets of both styles, as well as, you know, poppers. You can mimic a plate rack. They even have Texas stars. They have everything that you would possibly want. And it's a really huge training aid that, you know, is very, very helpful. Some people didn't know those exist. I was talking to some people earlier today, and so I thought it'd be relevant to bring that up and show that that's an option. No worries, no worries. Let's jump into the comments. If you guys got any questions on anything while we're waiting to get Matt back up, let me know. Sounds good. Cool. Hey, Matt, they're telling me we got you back up. Are you there? No worries, no worries. All right, let's talk about some gun stuff while we're here, and we got time. I did an Instagram live earlier, and this seemed to go well, and so we'll just do this on the fly. Got an 11.5 BCM right here with a SureFire Scout Light Pro. This is 1,000 lumens, M-LOK direct mount. It swivels to get as tight to the rail as possible. And then we got, actually this is a SOCOM 762 Mini 2, just because that's what I had on hand. But obviously the better can would be a SOCOM 556 RC2 for this. Some people were asking, or I saw a lot of comments earlier on Instagram, you know, what's the best can for an 11.5? I know a lot of friends, some local SWAT guys that prefer the Mini 2 for an 11.5. Obviously, you got to know the limitations of that. With the shorter suppressor, it's going to be a little bit louder. You're going to have a little bit more flash. The better option is to go to a full-size suppressor if you can. But, you know, the Mini 2 is a really, really cool setup. Obviously, it's a little shorter. It's a little bit lighter, a little better for the close-in situations as far as manipulating the rifle. You know, if it's a home defense gun, I might go with the full size. But if you're doing stuff in a team environment, you're going to be on comms with Ear Pro. The Mini 2 is probably the better option there. Let's see if we got an update on Matt's internet here. Let's set this guy down. Looks like you should do some more giveaways. Maybe we'll do that. Here's a question. Can I convert my 300 SPS to RC2 baffles? No, there's a whole bunch of things that are different there, but the short answer is no, that you cannot do that. Any future flashlight releases? We talked about that on day one. This year, maybe later on in the year, yeah, we got some stuff planned. However, due to the significant demand we have right now, most of the launches were pushed back because we're trying everything to catch up with the current products that we make. We're super back ordered on the myriad of our product line. You know, X300 scout lights, muzzle devices, suppressors. There's a huge demand, and we are cranking them out on a daily basis. We're buying more machines. We're expanding and trying to make things as fast as we can. That said, there isn't a whole lot of flashlight releases right now. Maybe later on this year you will see some. I think we got Matt back. Let's see if he's back in it. Matt, you got me? Still some technical difficulties. This is part of the fun, by the way, of a live thing, you know what I mean? And I should also add that we talked with Matt seamlessly earlier today for about, I don't know, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, just fine. And then this happens, of course, as soon as we go live. And he's actually texting me right now. He's jumping back in. All right, what's my go-to rifle setup? Well, yeah, I was gonna say, why would you ask me? I'm an idiot. But I honestly like the BCM 11.5s personally. I'm a big BCM fanboy. I like the 11.5. This is actually my personal upper that I brought in for this to make it easier. This is one of my favorite setups. I also have a 14.5 inch with a 1-to-6. That's a 1-to-10. But a Vortex 1-to-6, which I really like. And those are my two go-to rifles. I have a bunch of other guns, but I'm always bouncing back and forth between the BCM 11.5 and the 14.5, either with the aim point or the Vortex 1-to-6, depending on what we're shooting. Do we have Matt back on there? Hey, Matt, you hear me?
I think I can hear you now.
Cool, man. Of course, that's how this thing goes, man.
Sorry about that.
You're good, man. It's not your fault unless you put the
It's
internet.
going in and out.
My audio is?
No,
You got me now or no?
I think it's my internet connection, of course. It tests fine, but
Well, we got you clear. If you want to talk a little bit about dry fire, I think we got you good right this second until we drop you again. I mean, we'll run this as long as we can. It's no worries. It is what it is. This is part of the fun of doing things live. Oh, I think we lost him again. What SureFire suppressors are best suited for a 16-inch AR-10 308? Probably, I thought I had one here, a SOCOM 762 RC2 or the SOCOM 762 Mini 2. 16-inch, you'd be best off with the RC2, the full-length suppressor to get the amount of suppression that you'd expect from a suppressor. Being that it's a gas gun, you know, we also make the 300 SPS suppressor. That is a different baffle design. You're going to have a little bit more back pressure with it. It's going to be quieter, but on a gas gun with a non-adjustable gas block, a 308 gas gun, you'd be better off with the RC2 suppressor. Also, it's a more durable suppressor. It's just an overall better suited can for that application. Can we get an Optics Planet or Midway USA promo code? I don't think so. Not from us. That'd be an Optics Planet or a Midway USA question, unfortunately. RSP for the XVL2. That's a good question. I'll talk about that just because I don't think most people even know about that yet. So the question was, when will the RSP, the remote switch for the XVL2 be back in stock? I don't know of the ETA of it. If you email our customer service, we could probably give you a rough estimate on that. RSP, it's our remote switch for the XVL2. XVL2 is a handgun, kind of like an ATPIL. It has two lasers. It has a visible laser and an IR laser. They're slaves, so if you zero vis, the IR is also zeroed, and it also has an IR illuminator and a white light. We make a different backplate for that. That's like our DG switch. Basically gives you the ability to one-handed squeeze activate on a couple different handguns. There's also an RSR, which is remote switch rifle, where you can plug in a remote pressure switch for our rifles for those that want to mount that XVL2 on a long gun. It's not really designed for long guns, but for PDWs and for, you know, really short SBRs and stuff like that, it is kind of a good a good option for those looking for something like that. So call them on the phone so we can hear them. What do you think? Should we call them on the phone? Think that's a Kurt Zweirland with the clutch suggestion. Hey, call him on the phone. Thanks, Kurt. Let's try that. Let's give that a go. A good college try. Sorry, folks, by the way. We're doing the best we can. We'll see if we can get through it. If not, we might just bring in our guests early. Yeah, that's probably not going to work then, huh? Scar 17, RC2 or 300 SPS? Yeah, man, I would definitely say the RC2. You can run that 300 SPS on it. I don't know if anybody makes an aftermarket. Wait, hold on. Is the Scar I think has a adjustable gas block. If it does, you might be okay. And you know what? That's probably a better question for Barry, to be honest. I have a Scar Heavy, but I haven't even suppressed it personally. But I know Barry has done that a lot, and so we'll ask that to him later. Just off the cuff, though, the RC2 is going to be a better can for that application. As I mentioned before, the baffle design is it's focused on lower back pressure as opposed to the SPS, which is focused on sound. And that's one of the things I want Barry to talk about later on today. Is there's no free lunch. You know, if you want to move one column of performance up, meaning whether it's sound or weight or something, another column is usually sacrificed durability. So if you're making something quieter, a lot of times you're getting more in the back pressure column. You know what I mean? And if you're doing everything, a lot of times you're sacrificing weight and size. So there's no free lunch typically. 8-inch 5.56 Bren 2, definitely the SOCOM 5.56 SB2. So the SOCOM 5.56 RC2, it's on the gun behind me. That's our full-size standard 5.56 suppressor. It's our bread and butter. For super short barrels, shorter than like, you know, a Mark 18, so anything like 9 inches and down, G36K, whatever, like shorter guns, like what you're saying, an 8-inch Bren 2, we have the SB2, which stands for short barrel. And that's a better choice for that. Basically, it's an opened up bore. Because a lot of times those really, really short barreled guns are not stabilizing the projectile, and you're more likely to have a baffle strike as it yaws. So the SB2 is definitely the answer for that. Do we get Matt back? Matt?
Yeah, Andrew, I'm still not getting you guys on audio, but I'm assuming you guys are hearing me.
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah, I don't have any.
Here, let's see if we can do this, folks. You got...
All right, yeah, we can do this through text, man. I apologize about this again.
No worries.
It's horrible. I got horrible internet connection right now. Yeah, so what I'm doing for dry fire, you know, we had talked about previously, with ammo the way it is, don't have access to it. I think everybody's feeling that. You know, I think I was fortunate enough to build up a pretty good stockpile, you know, and bought when it was right. I dry fire definitely every day. For me personally, I can't dry fire for extended periods of time. So I break it up into, you know, 10 to 15 minute sessions. And I always start the sessions the same way, working on foundational stuff, you know, pressing the trigger at speed, do a little bit of gun handling towards the end of my sessions. And then the bulk of them are really, you know, visual accountability and kind of and indexing type work. And that's what's been working for me lately.
Cool. So that's a big help. Let's see here. Next up on the agenda. Yeah, what do you think about? I'm typing this out, folks, by the way. We're making do with what we got. What do you think about? Also, I type on a text or on a phone like a grandpa, so don't make fun of me for the chicken pecking. So I'm just asking him what he thinks about red dot sights on handguns. There we go.
You know, I think they're gaining huge popularity. You know, I personally am a production shooter, you know, from the competitive side, but probably going to shoot mainly carry optics, you know, this year. I am a big fan of red dots on handguns. I think a lot of people, you know, think when they put a red dot on a handgun that somehow shooting's going to become much, much easier, but there's still foundational skills that need to be there. You know, from an aiming scheme standpoint, it's much, much easier, you know, especially guys with bad eyes. It gives most all shooters the ability, you know, to be target focused, where a lot of target focused sighted fire with iron sights becomes very difficult for guys. And that's a much more advanced skill, and red dots kind of answer that. I think definite benefit of the red dot, you know, at distance, it's much, much better. For me personally, I don't see a game with, you know, up close targets. You know, I am a fan of them though, from a defensive standpoint, and definitely from a operational standpoint. I prefer the dot I'm using now is a 2.5 MOA dot. I'm using an SRO, and I like it. I've tried just about everything from RMRs to Delta Point Pros and everything. I like the smaller dot. For me, my eyes are still really good, knock on wood. So the smaller dot, you know, works for me, and I like that precision for longer shots.
Yeah, me too. I don't think you can hear me yet, but basically what's going on, folks, is the guys in the back can, I think now, I was texting him to begin with, they can type him the questions. So the next thing up on our question list, and we had an interesting conversation about this, was set up for Switchology running IR on a rifle. So how do you run your switching when running lasers and lights on a long gun? That's the question that I want Matt to kind of go into. They're going to type that to him.
So, talk about the long gun, lasers and lights. That's what you text. So yeah, I'm a big fan. I think from, a work standpoint, operational standpoint, guys in the mill, even law enforcement, definite light on a long gun is a must. I'm personally use a SureFire Scout with the Vampire hood, do a lot of shooting under nods. And I like the ability to go from white to IR. And I also like the ability to turn that thing off. The way that I set my guns up, I run lasers, whether it's an APAL or an end gull, I run it on the top rail, but I actually put mine pretty far back on the rail. From a switch standpoint, I like to have my white light switch at the 12 o'clock position. So when I'm using white light, I have most control. I feel like that's the most aggressive way that I'm going to shoot that rifle. And I have the most control with my thumb on the top. And then I put my laser switch kind of at that 11 o'clock position. So that way, when I'm using the laser, I rotate my thumb out of the way, and I haven't had any issues with hitting the floodlight or having my thumb be in the way, and it works pretty well for me.
Interesting. Very, very interesting.
I've been running it that way for the last 15 years, so it's working, and I don't see a need to change it.
Suppressors. We had an interesting conversation on suppressors and the use in a fighting application. What do you think about suppressors? Is it an essential tool to you? I'm talking still like he can hear me. I'm going to type that in.
I think suppressors is huge tool. Especially from a gunfighting perspective, it's literally a game changer. From an operational standpoint, not so much. I think there's a misconception of guys that don't have suppressor rifle with terms of guns. It distorts the dampens the sound, obviously, but the big advantage is the distorting where that's coming from. With SureFire suppressors, you virtually nothing out of the end of the gun, no muzzle flash or anything like that. But plenty of times, from an engagement standpoint, recorded report of knowing exactly where it came from. Most of the time, you're not hearing the report of the rifle; you're just hearing the crack of the round as it passes you.
Cool, man. Last thing, if we could ask, where can people find? We're going to cut this, folks, a little bit short just because we are having some audio issues. That said, if you want to see more from Matt, we got some field notes that we already filmed with him last year that are in the queue to be done, and we're going to be doing some more stuff with him in the near future when he's back stateside. But yeah, hey, what website, if people want to find you, Matt, and what courses, you got any courses coming up that you want to plug? See if I can type faster than the guys in the back, probably.
So courses for me, you can find me at extraalpha.com, and I put some stuff up on Instagram. Courses coming up, I've got a bunch of LE courses. They're all on my website. Coming up pretty much April is completely booked for me for training. So you can register for all those online, check them out, and then as new courses pop up, they'll show up in there. I'm primarily doing pistol and carbine, and then a couple practical shooting courses throughout April.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Matt. I appreciate you joining us. We'll talk soon, man. Have a good one. Folks, we're going to roll into another video that has not ever been seen before from us. This is a pretty sweet range demo that we do. So typically during SHOT Show every year, we do a kind of closed demo for some specific customers. And basically, we want to go through our entire line of suppressors, our entire line of flash hiders and adapters, muzzle devices, and then we also show some foreign weapons platforms that specific customers are looking for, right? So what does this suppressor do on this platform? So this demo, we kind of did an abbreviated version of that, where we kind of just run through the gamut of products and different weapons platforms. So it's a pretty cool look to see live fire, what the performance is on all those. We even shoot the machine guns. We do the 50 cal flash hider as well. So really cool little look at kind of like what we do at SHOT Show typically. And normally no one gets to see this, or very few people gets to see this because it's a kind of closed small event. So we're gonna roll into that video. Afterwards, I'm gonna be sitting down with Cody Carroll and Barry Duke. We're gonna talk about suppressor system stuff, and we're gonna do another set of giveaways, and there's also gonna be some more promo codes. So stay tuned. Thanks for bearing with us with the technical difficulties, and let's check out that video.
Hi, I'm Barry Duke, Vice President of Suppressors and Weapons at SureFire.
Hi, I'm Jamie Wiedemann, Vice President of Military Sales at SureFire. We normally do this demo at SHOT Show for some of our customers. We don't have a whole lot of space for everybody. It's usually limited invite only. But since SHOT Show's not happening this year, you guys get to come along.
Up first, we're going to go through muzzle devices. All these rifles, BCMs, they run 11.5-inch barrels. 10.3, 11.5s are going to be similar in flash. We're shooting this worst case scenario. If you have the ability to choose your ammo with flash retardants, highly recommended. It runs cleaner, and it'll even reduce the flash more than what you're seeing here. We're starting out with an A2 bird cage. We're going to roll into an SFCT, followed by an SF3P, then the Warcomp 5.56. And we're going to finish up with a muzzle brake, showing you the difference in flash between each of them. Lights.
A2 birdcage, standard on the M4 flash hider. It's this closed time flash hider.
SF3P. I'll buy the Warcomp 5.56. This is the SFMB 5.56. Okay, 10.3-inch barrel SF3P flash hider. Start out with the SOCOM 5.56 RC2. This is M855 ammunition. Next is SOCOM 5.56 SB2, M855 ammunition. Next is SOCOM 5.56 Mini 2. For M855, we don't recommend this suppressor on this short of a barrel because of muzzle flash. Different atmospherics. Sometimes we get flash, sometimes we don't. Let's see what happens. Transition over to Mark 262. This ammo has flash retardant in it, and we'll go through the same string again. So this is SOCOM 5.56 RC2. SOCOM 5.56 SB2. And SOCOM 5.56 Mini 2. As you can see, the sound goes up a little as the bore gets bigger on the SB2, and then as the suppressor gets smaller on the Mini 2. And transition over to the other propellant, whether it's Mark 262, whether it's one of Hornady's excellent loads that has good flash retardant in it. There's a lot of ammo out there that will allow you to go to a shorter suppressor on a shorter barrel. Overall, you need to test the gun, test the system you carry, make sure it meets your operational needs. This is a 14.5-inch URGI, and we will start out with the SOCOM 5.56 RC2. This flash hider is an SF3P, and we will be using M855 ammunition. Do the SOCOM 5.56 SB2 and SOCOM 5.56 Mini 2. Once you get to a 14.5-inch barrel, the propellant, whether it's flash retardant or not, starts becoming a lot less needed as far as variables for flash, and the sound also gets reduced the longer the barrel is. What a lot of times when you go to choose a suppressor, what's better for your gun, SOCOM 5.56 RC2 is typically my go-to suppressor. If I have a gun that's overgassed, a lot of times piston guns are a little more suppressor finicky. That's where the SB2 can come in with either the super short barrels or just something that's gassed really heavily. And then the Mini 2, it depends on what fits your mission. Like I said, I typically only recommend it for 14.5 or longer. We have customers that are happily running it on 10.3s. They just choose their ammunition carefully. Next thing up is going to be 7.62. This is 18-inch barreled OBR. We're going to fire 168 Fed match, and we'll do 7.62 RC2. 7.62 Mini 2. So with 2 suppressors, you're looking at a little bit more sound, a little bit more flash, although 7.62s are pretty tame on flash. It's a balance of portability and weapon control versus overall sound reduction. Next thing we're going to go into is some of the less common weapons platforms that you see from different places around the world. Here's SIG MCX, SOCOM 556 RC2. Mark 16 Scar Light, SOCOM 556 Mini 2. IWI Tavor, SOCOM 556 SB2. Steyr AUG, SOCOM 556 Mini 2. HK G36C, SOCOM 556 SB2. HK 416, SOCOM 556 SB2. AK 762 by 39, SOCOM 762 Mini 2. This SIG Rattler with SOCOM 300 SPS suppressor. First we're going to fire subsonic, then we're going to fire a few rounds supersonic. MP5 with the SF Rider 9 MP5 suppressor. The STS Staccato with the Rider 9 Tie 2. Ruger 1022 with the Rider 22S. Hollywood Quiet from working guns down to the 22s, which are just unbelievably fun. Next, we're going to roll into the ELR line. So this covers 338 Lapua and 375 and 408 Chi-Tac. What we found with one 408 suppressor, it actually performed adequately with 375 Enabler, 375 Chi-Tac, and 408 Chi-Tac. Today we're going to shoot it in the 408. So next we're going to talk about the SOCOM 50 SPS suppressor. This suppressor will mount on a Barrett, it'll mount on a TAC 50. The difference, we have a muzzle brake on the front that is also a flash hider for the suppressor. So this reduces about approximately 66% of the recoil coming off the suppressor, so it allows the semi-auto guns to work, but also it takes a lot of the punishment out of shooting a suppressed bolt gun. So Alan will fire a couple of rounds with just the muzzle brake, and then we'll put the suppressor on. Okay, first he's going to fire a couple rounds with just the muzzle brake on this GA 6.5 Creedmoor. Okay, this first suppressor is SOCOM 762 RC2. Next suppressor is the SOCOM 300 SPS. Next suppressor is the SOCOM 762 tie. And last, the SOCOM 65 tie. If you noticed, as we went down in bore, the 6.5 optimized for the caliber, obviously, you know, almost zero muzzle flash. Also, sound went down a couple more dB. So 7.62s, really great choice for 6.5s, but the 6.5 optimized is where you're going to get your optimal performance from. Next, we're rolling into the machine guns.
Okay, next we're going to talk about our machine gun suppressors. We got a Mark 46 over here and an M240. All right, we got the flash hiders on there, our SF3P, three-prong flash hiders. We're going to shoot some bursts with just the flash hider, and then we're going to put the suppressor on and shoot another burst and let you witness the sound and the suppression from the suppressor.
And this is M855 ammunition.
You notice there was just a little bit of flash. That's a pretty short barrel for a machine gun. Barry's going to put the SOCOM 556 MG suppressor on, just like our other carbine suppressors. Installs the same. We're going to go ahead and fire a few bursts with the suppressor. Okay, next we're going to do the M240. We have the SF3P 762 MG flash hider on here. I want you to really pay attention here because this really works really well on a M240. It just eliminates the flash. All right, we're going hot. All right, Barry's installing the SOCOM 762 MG suppressor. One last thing, your support by fire position for your infantry with your machine guns. The M240 being suppressed really makes a big difference, hides those guys' position. We've had these in use, the SOCOM series machine gun suppressors for about 10 years with certain units out there. We've got national stock numbers for the flash hider and for the suppressor.
And these are highly durable suppressors. They're still weighing in only about 30 ounces. And just from a standpoint on M240, it's only changing cyclic rate around 15 RPM.
Okay, next thing we're going to demonstrate.
Use this great M2 machine gun can and still function. This flash hider goes on, there's no special maintenance, nothing else. Everything has rust resistant coatings on it, nitride on some of the parts and ion bond on others. Overall, just a great bomb-proof heat-treated flash hider.
So let's check out the flash from a regular M2 machine gun without the flash hider. Notice how big this flash is and how big the visible signature is on the battlefield. We're going to put the flash hider on, get a close-up of the install here.
Overall, just basically it's like a valve spring retainer. Two halves go on. There's a little spring that keeps them together just to make it easier. And then you simply screw the flash hider in to the front. There is a wrench that comes with this that you can even tighten it to a torque spec, but reality is you don't even need to. Just snug it up and you're mounted, you're good to go. There's also a version for the M2A1, M2A2 quick change barrel 50s, as well as the M2HB. So no matter which M2 machine gun you have, we have a flash hider for it.
Okay, that's about a wrap. We covered a lot of suppressors this evening. Remember, the #1 thing about suppressors is reducing the sound, hiding your visible flash signature, and hearing protection. Thanks for coming out.
If you have any more questions or want technical information, check out SureFire.com. Thanks for watching.
Welcome back, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed that video. Pretty awesome look at the gamut of suppressors and adapters and different weapons platforms. Before we continue on to the guests, we're going to do the second round of, actually, I'm going to do 3 of the second round of giveaways, and we're going to do the last 3 at the end. So this is War Comps up next. Randy Jackson. I hope that's the real Randy Jackson right there. Congratulations, Randy Jackson. War Comp for you. Kyle Narcom, you just won a War Comp 5.56, half by 28. And then Matt Richardson, you just won a War Comp 5.56, half by 28. Congratulations, and thank you for participating. Also, guys, just in case you're tuning in now, there's going to be some promo codes that pop up on the bottom of your screen. Those are for our website. They're one-time use only, and they're first come, first serve, meaning you have to check out and complete the order to utilize them. It's 40% off, really cool opportunity. We don't normally give those out, but there's going to be a couple of them sporadically popping up like an Easter egg, so be sure to jump on those and keep your eye out for them. So we're back sitting down with Barry Duke, who you might be familiar with, of course. You just watched him in the video, and Cody Carroll. Cody, I think this might be the first time on a live. Can you give us a little background on yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Cody Carroll. I've been working for Barry for the last 2 years, and my program title is Precision Weapons Specialist. So I work with end users in the field and Barry, and we kind of combine what the user wants and what we can actually produce, and we develop awesome products for that.
Sweet. Thank you very much. Before we dive into the topics that we wanted to talk about, one of the comments that we got earlier was about a guy that has a SCAR Heavy, SCAR 17. Oh, and I didn't mention to you earlier, he has a short barrel. I think he said he had like a 13-inch barrel. He was asking, I think he has a SOCOM 300 SPS suppressor. Is it better for him to have an RC2, a 7.62 RC2 can, maybe even a Mini 2? What's the best option?
The 7.62 RC2, 7.62 Mini 2 would be the optimum. The back pressure on that, the scars. I don't know what the problems are. I don't know what breaks, but I know.
Right there, if you have any questions similar to that, specific to you, this is a unique opportunity. You got like super subject matter experts right here that you can pick their brains. So if you have a question or anything, hop it in the comments and we'll see if we can get it answered. One thing we wanted to talk about, Barry, that's unique to SureFire is the fact that we don't make just individual suppressors, but we have an entire system. So when a customer, a military customer, law enforcement, whoever it is, comes to us, we have the full gamut of options from BSDs to BFAs, trainers. Can you talk a little bit about the entire system?
Yeah, overall, if you look at SureFire suppressors, period, 90% of our suppressors, there's been a military end user behind what we designed in the first place. So then you get in after that. So this is our BSD. We have BFAs also. As I drop things, but inside of here, there's a stainless steel heat-treated bullet trap, and it actually starts stripping. If a live round gets fired in, it actually catches the bullet. It actually decelerates the projectile and strips mass off of it before it even gets in here to the end. And then the one thing we found in testing was the M4, M16 variants. Extremely reliable guns. As much as there's haters out there, most weapon systems, if I plug the muzzle, they quit working. With an M16, plug the muzzle, darn thing just kept feeding rounds. Now what we noticed, we're catching rounds up here in the front, and the weapon still sounds like you're firing blanks. So what I did was, you see this little hole?
Yep.
That hole is actually back up on here. The gases go through. If you fire a live round, it breaks through a steel wall inside of the BSD. the bullet goes forward, catches the round, but it goes through an airspace that feeds into this hole. So you now just went from, you know, whatever dB a blank is, I don't remember off the top of my head, but now all of a sudden you're putting full sound, full unsuppressed sound level out the bottom of your suppressor. It's blowing fire and all kinds of crap out. I'll tell you, it's testing these things. Before I'd gone like high tech and got armored barricades, I'd just go out there to the range and shoot them. It puckers you up pretty good.
Yeah. So, folks, just for those that are more on the consumer side of things, just so you know what we're talking about, because I just realized that some people might not know. You know, military, a lot of times you're training with blanks. Blanks do not have a projectile, but it cycles the gun just like it would normally. So manipulations, reloads, all that stuff is the same. However, you know, there's been a few unfortunate instances where a live round might end up in the gun, and that's obviously very, you know, it's dangerous because BFAs are very thin blank firing adapters, which enable the gun to still cycle when running blanks. These blank safety devices have the ability to soak up how many rounds?
You know, we rate them, you know, up to 3 live rounds. Reality is I've put over 30 into them.
Wow.
It's just we don't want to, you know, metal you can get in different parts of the same bar of steel and have like an inclusion or something.
Sure.
So we try to spec it in on the lower end. But overall, if somebody's bringing live rounds into a blank firing environment, that's not your best and brightest, you know, operator in the first place. So even if they don't figure it out, everybody else in the training environment's going to know, hey, this guy's gun's now producing sound and flash out the bottom of it. The reason we actually had the flash come out the bottom, or in this case, the bottom and the top, was so it's not, if somebody's to the left or right, we're not putting potential high pressure gases and debris aimed at them. A lot of thought went into how do we make one of these things fail safe if somebody's going to fire live rounds into it. And these are also the same size and weight as the issue suppressor. So these are there's a BFA on SOCOM for the Mark 18. Doesn't actually have the bullet trap in it. And we've had you know, actually some of the people in SOCOM, when they originally tested Crane, said, hey, we fired some live rounds in that thing and it stopped them. It's a bullet trap. It's like, not really, because, you know, I've also had bullets exit.
Sure.
So that's why there's a bullet trap in the front, to actually safely contain everything.
That's good info.
This is actually made for the M4 instead of the Mark 18. So when you start trying to get weapons to fire with blanks, barrel length, the amount of gas you're retaining in the gun becomes a big deal. So that's where this sits in. Then we've had other customers that don't want to retain the same same size and weight as a real suppressor, just want it to work. This particular device was designed for one of our foreign military customers that uses war comps and needed the weapon to cycle with war comp mounted. So when you put this over the suppressor, it seals it up. We also have the M240 BFA that works very similar to this. So this isn't a bullet trap, but still gives you the blank firing characteristics.
Very cool. Yeah, so to reiterate, the blue one is for the M4, M16.
Yeah.
And then yellow's for like Mark 18.
Yeah.
Cool.
And we've tested successfully with different, we've had different customers, and especially international, where they were using, you know, 12 and a half inch barreled piston guns. And we've had really good success in adapting this over to run in a pretty good range of guns from 10.3 through about 12 and a half.
I got a question, actually, message to me yesterday from one of our foreign customers, foreign military customer. He was wondering, they have SureFire suppressors, and he was wondering about simunitions or UTMs, marking cartridges, and frangible ammunition. Actually, specifically in my head, I mixed it up. It was frangible ammunition through suppressors. He's like, are we good, or do we need to buy trainers? And my answer was that trainers are the better option for that. Can you guys speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, the challenge with frangible, the challenge with anything is your ammo stable when it comes out of the gun, and a lot of frangible, very light bullet. The frangible that's made of like a pressed composite where you kind of look at it and there's no jacket on it. I've got some customers that have successfully run it happily. Usually, if there's as a rule of thumb, if there's a jacket or a semi-jacket on it, it's probably going to fly perfectly fine through a suppressor. What I found talking to some of the manufacturers of this ammo early on when it started coming out, they said that when the pressed composite engraves into the rifling actually scrapes off the lands and grooves on the projectile, where a jacket forms into it, and when it scrapes it off, now you have a lot of extra debris that's going through. And the trainer is the safe way. We do have customers that are very high round count customers that have, for decade plus have been firing semi-jacketed frangible through our suppressors without issue.
Sure.
So depends on your ammo and your gun, but semi-jacketed is where I am at a comfort zone. Pressed, you just got to fire it through your gun, see how it's going. Some of it would be fired and suppressed at a close-in target, 5 yards away or so. Are your bullets going through straight, or are they still yawing as they exit? There's some common tests you could do that might help out.
Marking cartridges. Cody, you got the trainer in your hand right there. I think one time it was mentioned to me that, and I've seen it done, there's certain people that shoot UTMs through real suppressors, but I think the issue is that if you get a blockage, you might have a POI shift, and if you get a call out, then you got to worry about that liability. Is that right?
I don't necessarily know about the liability piece, but I would say that the trainer, and for those of you guys that don't know, like the trainer is an exact mock-up of a real suppressor, but there's a hole through it. I don't know which camera I'm on right now, but all right, so there's a hole through it, so you can actually use munitions that are designed for force-on-force training, whether it's UTMs or sim munitions, with the same adapters that we have. And it gives you the same form factor, and as far as the weapon platform goes, that you would normally use for whatever type of operations that you may be used to running.
Cool.
One thing to add a little more piece, we have one customer that's been running simunition uppers, and they had a different thread on them. So we've built a special simunitions compatible SF3P, so they can put the trainers on their sim uppers. And that's something that's not on the price list yet, but is available to order.
Awesome. They think it was already answered, but is the SOCOM 762 RC2, is that good to run on a SCAR 13-inch barrel, a 13-inch SCAR?
Oh, absolutely.
Heavy. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool. Cody, as far as like a military application goes, do you think, are suppressors a pretty huge advantage, specifically in the precision side of things, the sniper side of things?
Yeah, so I mean, when you talk about survivability, a big thing that ties into that is signature reduction. So with suppressors and all of our adapters as well, not only do you get flash signature reduction, but you also get sound signature reduction. And when it comes to survivability on a battlefield or wherever you may be, if those things are important to you, it is definitely important. It's something you should look into.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, and also, yeah, like you said, you're a lot of times for a precision application, you're low to the ground, and that dust reduction is probably a big help, I would imagine.
Yeah, sure, dust reduction. A lot of times too, people have the misconception that snipers are always firing from a prone position, but that's not always the case. I know that I never took a shot in combat from a prone position, so it's full spectrum. All right, so flash. I think ultimately, to me, the most important thing is, since I mostly was working exterior, not inside of a CQB type situation, but in mountains and woodlands, was actually the flash reduction capability that it brought, especially at night. I mean, all of our flash hiders are like 99.7% flash reduction. You get a tiny bit more flash when you put on a suppressor. As Barry likes to say, it's the sushi pencil.
Until I found out people don't know what that is.
I didn't know what it was.
It's a broken off number 2 pencil.
Yeah. A third of a pencil.
But then you also get the noise reduction and the ability to, like, not necessarily mask the sound, but it does sound like it comes from, you can't actually pinpoint it. It's weird. It's a different report.
Now, if you go, like, on that, if you go downrange, and nowadays as we get more mature, we will stand, like put people behind a berm instead of just shooting rounds past them. But if you're downrange and let's say shooters 100, 200 yards plus away, and a bullet goes past, that bullet's making about 150 dB. Let's say the suppressed weapon system at the weapon's mid 130s. That 130 is never going to get to the person 100 or 200 yards downrange. So when the bullet goes past, the sound coming off the bullet is kind of like the wake coming off a boat. The faster the bullet goes, the narrower the wake. But if a round went between Cody and I right now, he'd hear it as if it came from behind me, and I'd hear it as if it came from behind him. So we're not looking at the direction where the shooter is.
And a lot of ranges too, once the bullet goes transonic, it's not necessarily making that supersonic crack anymore. And now you have a completely suppressed rifle rapport on the other end.
Jumping into the comments, and this is one that I've gotten a couple times. What is the highest pressure round we can put through a 7.62 RC2? Is it 300 Win Mag? What do you...
I don't know of any 30 cal round that I'd be at all concerned with. I mean, we've done stuff with 300 Norma. Usually with 300 Norma, we're using the SOCOM 338 tie. It's just more optimized for real sound suppression on it. But from a durability standpoint, you know, Mark West from Eustone Armalite, one time he looked at one of my early suppressors, and he's like looking at all the Inconel and the construction. He says, "Yeah, you've over-engineered this thing," and I took it as a compliment. I think he was trying to give me some constructive criticism that I was making something that was too costly and over-engineered, which I probably am guilty of. But I've always tried to over-engineer a product because I don't want the customer to have to worry about it ever failing on them.
Another question from a customer here, Wayfarer 320. He said, Barry, is there any chance you guys will release a limited batch of FA762 SV suppressors for us clone nerds? He didn't say nerds, I did. For the SCAR 20, for the Mark 20. Is that any chance of that? Probably not.
I wouldn't say there's not a chance of it right now. Our real focus is catching up on our back order and getting everybody out there that has suppressors on order. We want to get your suppressors in your hands. But, you know, once we get caught up on things, if Andrew comes to me and says, "Hey man, we really got to build some SVs," then, you know, you never know.
You never know. Never say never, I guess, is the ending answer there. For Civilian, what 7.62 suppressor has the widest application? Is it the RC2 or is it the Mini 2?
As far as widest application, if you're running on gas guns, the RC2, Mini 2 are your two real choices. The RC2 is a little quieter, Mini 2 is a little more portable. But if you're talking, you bring in gas guns to it, the SOCOM 300 SPS is a great contender. The other suppressor, the SOCOM 338 tie, is actually an incredible, 7.62 suppressor also.
That's good to know.
But ultimate sound reduction, the SOCOM 338 tie is quietest suppressor we've ever tested on 7.62 by 51, whether it's gas gun or bolt action.
How much difference would there be from the 7.62 tie, the brand new SOCOM 7.62 tie?
Sound wise, they'll be close, but the 338 tie is still going to be quieter.
Interesting. That's good to know. Let's see. I think we covered most of the items. I real quick wanted to mention, we talked about this earlier, still people aren't familiar with the Pro Comp and then the Eliminator. Can you talk a little bit about these guys?
Yeah. So with these, our normal flash hiders muzzle brakes are designed, they're heat treated 17.4 stainless, they're precision machined. I mean, the threads are single point cut. We actually tightened up the thread spec on them even more to make sure they stay really aligned to this muzzle of the weapon. When you aren't putting a suppressor on that you're worried about lining up, these are chrome moly, they're nitride coated. rather than 17.4 with ion bond. So we were able to pull a little bit of cost off here and there. And all the super precision suppressor alignment features went away. So we're able to offer these at a greatly reduced price. Performance is exactly the same.
Awesome.
So this performs, as far as what the bullet sees for flash,
Yeah.
this is an SF3P. And as far as the muzzle brake goes, this is an SFMB 556 brake. To get into the weeds a little bit, these are ported at 12 o'clock for neutral. There's on the 556s, there's a little vent hole here. If you were a left-handed shooter and you wanted to really optimize it for left hand, we did a pilot hole on the left side. You could actually open up this hole until your rifle recoils straight front, straight rear when you fire it.
So you can tune it yourself if you're a left-handed shooter.
Yeah,
That's
just
awesome.
high-quality drill bits
Yep.
and cordless drill on the range, and you could actually
Awesome.
tune it for perfection.
Good info. Sheepdog's asking, what's SureFire suppressor best for an AK? I'm assuming 7.6239. What's the best option?
The 7.62 Mini 2 was actually designed for an AK, 7.62 by 39 AK
Awesome.
for a U.S. Customer.
I was talking to Dave Merrill about that's his favorite out of all the suppressors for AKs is the 7.62 Mini 2. So that's cool.
And a little bit on that, with the AK, because the gas piston goes back and you get a bunch of sound coming out the gas piston tube into the receiver, shooting the gun, when we started putting bigger suppressors on, it didn't get much quieter. So that's where we ended up at the Mini 2 is there's a lot of sound that comes out of the gun.
Yeah.
So from 15 yards away, it sounds like a regular suppressed AR or something else. And when you're behind the gun, you're actually getting a little more sound on you. And you're being that sound's emanating, putting a bigger suppressor on didn't actually quiet down the gun enough to warrant the extra size.
So you're better off saving the weight and the size.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We make adapters for AK-74s also.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Really cool.
And actually, I've taken all the way down to, Krinkovs with the 545s.
So shorties.
Still running the 7.62 by 39, or I'm sorry, the
Mini 2.
7.62 Mini 2
Yep.
suppressor, and really awesome setup on 545 or 7.62 by 39.
AK-74 or 47, the answer is the SOCOM 7.62 Mini 2. One thing we wanted to talk about a little bit, and I talked about it a tiny bit earlier, is there's no free lunch with suppressors, right? As far as design goes, whether some people are like, well, why don't you? It's super heavy. Why don't you make it lighter? You're going to lose probably a little bit of durability. Or why don't you make it quieter? You're going to get some back pressure. Is that correct? As far as typically speaking, you give one thing and you take another. Is that right?
It's there's a lot of physics go on, and there's no free lunch. We're working hard to invent the free lunch with low back pressure that also doesn't have a bunch of sound and flash coming out of it. We recently did some tests where we were doing 2 rounds a second for 100 rounds, and we found that the low back pressure suppressors that are on the market actually at round 16 started having secondary explosions in front of the cannon. What people need to realize, there's muzzle flash is a thing, but when you have a secondary explosion in front of the suppressor, sound actually comes off of there. So if you're using those operationally, now you got a loud sound drawing people's vision over, and you got a loud explosion. It's actually something that's going to draw fire to you. So that's where right now we have like the 300 SPS, not a low back pressure suppressor, more of a regular industry standard level of back pressure, but really awesome on the sound reduction. We have the 7.62 RC2, the 5.56 RC2s and Mini 2s that are a balance. We've sacrificed a little bit of sound for back pressure, but still kept flash reduction.
That's awesome. That's exciting. We'll get to one more question and we'll do the final giveaways. Best suppressor, this guy's asking, best suppressor for a Remington 700, a bolt gun. It's a 308, and he already has a SureFire War Comp on it, he's saying. So what would you say the best the best suppressor is for that application, a bolt gun, 308?
7.62 tie.
Tie? Yeah. Go light.
Tie would be a great choice. The other thing would be a 300 SPS.
Cool. You heard it there. Depends on if you want to probably bounce it to some other guns, or if you're going to have it live on the bolt guns and be a precision can, then save the weight and go tie. All right, you guys had any closing things that we wanted to cover? Anything else?
No, appreciate everybody's business. We're doing everything we can to get caught up on the back order and
100%.
get your product out.
Awesome. All right, folks, so we're going to do the final drawing. Thank you very much for joining us. This is our first live stream, as everyone knows, this whole week, so it's been a little bit of a learning curve, had some technical issues. Appreciate you guys bearing with us. The final giveaways, these are for Scout Light Pros, M640s. So Dean Seymour, congratulations, you just won a Scout Light Pro. Jordan Justin, 2 first names, you just won a Scout Light Pro as well. Awesome. And James Sterling, you sound like a movie star, a Scout Light Pro for you as well. Congratulations. You guys are also all getting a swag pack with some koozies and stickers and all that good stuff, as well as SureFire Ear Pro. I talked about it yesterday. Ear Pro that we make is awesome in the ear for those hot days. There's a bunch of different models, all the way up to 30 decibels of NRR, so check those out as well. Thank you for joining us, folks. Appreciate your time. And for more information, just jump out on SureFire.com if you have any questions on our products. Have a good one.